What's going on, everybody? Good morning. Happy Thanksgiving. We are switching the schedule up a little bit today. We're going to be going with the routing guide first because we got a game that starts in half an hour. So let's go ahead and get it out now. And we'll move past coverage Thursday to a little later today. We're going to do it at 11. So just flipping those two around because it makes sense for today. And yeah, we'll switch back next week. But routing guide, routing guide. Once again, it's a big week. The Seahawks, they're in a good spot, but they don't have a big margin for error. So they're going to need some assistance if they want to make it without just running the table here. So let's take a look at these games, see what can be said, if anything, and try to find the little edges. So we got this game starting in half an hour here. Let's start with that. Bears going to the Lions to kick off Thanksgiving. I mean, it's really hard to find much of a incentive here. The Lions are too good. They can't be caught. And the Bears just aren't good enough. You can't really imagine the Bears getting back into the playoff race at this point. I will say that that Bears team is probably better than their record. They actually have a positive point differential, but it doesn't really matter. They're not good enough to realistically fight their way back in here. Nevertheless, while we're here, I think that we should just accept that the Lions are running away with things. Even if they end up dropping a couple of games down the stretch, and even if they lose the division, the Seahawks are not going to catch them. And even if they do, they own the tiebreakers. So there's no benefit to the Lions losing at this point. So knock out the Bears. Knock the Bears basically out of the picture. Send them to that 8th loss. And at that point, you'd pretty much write them off. They'd have to win out at that point, and they don't have the schedule to realistically win out. So, yeah, I think you just ride with it. I think you just say that you want the Lions to win at this point, and they can go ahead and win pretty much all their games since it has no effect on the Seahawks unless they want to lose all their games. If they lose out, okay, now you have a little something, but even then, man, that's a 10-win team already. So you're probably still not passing them. So knock the Bears out. Next game, a little bit later, Giants, Cowboys. Again, there isn't really a lot to say about this one anymore. But I guess if we're trying to find the little edges here and there, the Cowboys are the team that is still technically alive. They could still technically pull off a 10-win season. Even a 9-win season makes them a little bit of a threat. So if the Giants could just go ahead and end it today, yeah. I don't think that there's much to worry about here, but it is worth noting that the Cowboys' schedule is not bad the rest of the way. They have the Eagles, and they have the Bucks, and they have the Commanders. So those are their tough games remaining, and that's not that bad. They already beat the Commanders once. Tampa Bay is a very flawed team. Now, they're not beating Philly, I don't think, but there is a scenario where, without playing great, they end up winning all the other games they play. They get games against, like, Carolina. They have this game against the Giants. Like, they could just finish strong and either finish just short of the playoffs or sneak in if everyone else falls to pieces. So there's a tiny chance of that, and there's no chance of the Giants. And at the end of the day, I think it would be really funny if the Cowboys lost every single home game this year. I think that would be really, really entertaining. So I'm going to root for that. So yeah, if the Giants could just go ahead and chop the head off the beast, that'd be nice. But things don't really get compelling until the night game, Dolphins-Packers. And this is probably the last chance for the Packers to be weakened. If they win this game, that puts them at 9 wins. You look at their remaining schedule, it's really hard to imagine that they don't win at least 2 more games after that because they are a good team. And I think that if they win this game, they've got a wild card spot locked up. I'm not going to say they're going to compete for the division because I don't think they will, but they're going to have one of those wild card spots on lock, like the Vikings do. Not that different, actually. So we could really use a Dolphins upset here just to open up another back door, even if it only opens up a little bit. Remember, we play the Packers at home. we could be the team that knocks the Packers off, and we would own the tiebreaker, and we would be kind of climbing the ladder towards them. So I don't want to completely dismiss it, but if they keep winning, it's not really going to matter, even if we do beat them when they play in Seattle in a few weeks here. So, yeah, definitely want the Dolphins tonight. We got a Friday game that doesn't really mean anything to the Seahawks, Raiders, Chiefs. I got nothing. Root for whoever you want to root for, and let's see what happens. That's all I can say about that. Sunday, we're going to kick off December here, the first day of December. We've got not as many games as we usually do because of all the Thanksgiving and the Friday game. But we've got Chargers, Falcons. Honestly, I think you could make a pretty compelling argument that we want the Falcons to win their division. And we want them to win this game, which normally you would never say, but that tiebreaker can matter. We own the tiebreaker over Atlanta, so if we win the division and Atlanta wins the division, we own the tiebreaker. If both teams have the same record, we would get a higher seed. Now, it's debatable if that's even desirable. It depends on who the wildcard opponents are and what order the wildcard's in. But I personally believe that we would rather have Atlanta just win that division so that tiebreaker matters rather than Tampa. Because if Tampa wins the division, then you don't know how the tiebreaker is going to shake out. Could go one way, could go the other way. So I'm actually going to say we want Atlanta to win this game. And it's not often that I would ever say that you'd want an NFC team to beat an AFC team. But Atlanta is, I would say, relatively unlikely to be a serious wildcard contender. For them, it's either playoffs or, winning the division or falling out entirely, because it would take a relatively significant collapse for them to not win the division over a team that they swept, because they already beat Tampa twice. So it's a little bit dicey. Now, the flip side is that if the Seahawks don't win the division, then we want the Falcons in the wild card race, because that's a team that we hold the tiebreaker over. So on that level, we actually would want Atlanta to lose. But while we're here, while we're hoping for the best, why not root for us to win the division? We're in first place. It's not a ridiculous fantasy. So, yeah, I think we want Atlanta to win and just pack away that division. So, if it comes to it, we got them. Let's see. Steelers, Bengals. I got nothing. Nothing really here. Do whatever makes sense to you for this particular game. Root for whoever you want to root for. And, yeah, know that it doesn't materially affect the Seahawks. Cardinals, Vikings. Cardinals, Vikings. I think we kind of have to surrender the wild card spot to the Vikings. They're going to get into the playoffs. There's some small chance they can win the division, I guess, but that doesn't really help us. So either way, the Vikings are going to make the playoffs. So just, live with that. And we much more need a Cardinals loss, period. So we want the Vikings to win for sure. Cardinals remain a threat in the division, even though we beat them once. Now, there is something to be said, I guess, something to be said for the fact that we don't want to play the Cardinals when they're on a losing streak, which would be the case if they lose this game, but I don't think we can worry about that much. I think we just got to hope they lose this game and then beat them anyway the following week. So, yeah, Vikings fans this week for sure. Colts, Patriots. Strength of schedule says we want the Patriots to win, I guess, but that's about it. So, not necessarily going to be putting anything too emphatic out there, but while we are rooting for results, I guess we want the Patriots to win. We're going to skip Seahawks, Jets, of course, because we know what's up there. Titans, Commanders. This would go a long way in proving the allegations. This would go a long way in setting the Commanders on a crash course for the second half choke. And if they lose this game, a home game to the hapless 3-win Titans, then it just confirms what I've been thinking for a while now, that Commanders team is fraudulent. And I think that it can happen. And if it happens, then I think we have to seriously consider the possibility that that team's just going to fade and that 7th seed is going to be wide open. They're going to be only a few different teams really in contention for it, and the Seahawks may end up being one of them. So, big game here. I know that it's not likely. It's not an particularly likely outcome, but it is an outcome worth rooting for because it would be the clear turning point in this Commanders season, I think. Texans, Jaguars, really nothing going on there, and that gets us to the afternoon slate, where we've got Rams, Saints. Yeah, the Saints are kind of back from the dead, but I can't worry about that. What I got to worry about are these Rams who have already beaten the Seahawks and are holding on to life right now. And they've got a little bit of a tricky task this week going into New Orleans. So we need them to go ahead and absorb the L. You push them to 5-7, and at that point, they've got a big mountain to get over. They've got a big mountain to climb to get back into it. This would be a big one. And again, I'm not saying that it's likely. I'm not saying that we should sit here and bet our sanity on it, but it sure would be nice. It would be great if the Saints could do us a solid here. And then we just hope that other teams beat the Saints down the line. But we need the Rams to go away. This is a great opportunity for them to start going away. All right. Buccaneers, Panthers. I talked about this earlier this week. Tampa Bay is looming as a potential threat. They could claw their way back in here. If you look at their remaining schedule, it's easy. If they could drop a game here and just go ahead and end it, basically, it'd be great. If they drop this game and Atlanta wins their game, that it doesn't end it, but it's going to make it almost impossible for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to realistically get back into the division. So, yeah, I'm going to say Buccaneers, Panthers, that one, pretty clear. I'm not worried about Carolina running the table or anything like that. Like, let's not be silly here. They're playing better, but they're not going to run the table. And if they do, they're going to be just barely trying to claw out the 7 seed at best at this point, right? That's, what, 9-8 at best. That's probably not good enough. Eagles, Ravens. I don't think there's really any benefit to the Eagles losing at this point because they are so far ahead in their division now and so clearly the best team in their division. I guess that there is a scenario where the Eagles and Seahawks both win their divisions, and then we might be able to get it down to a tiebreaker. I think it's very unlikely. That Philly team is much better than I thought they would be, so I guess we want the Ravens to win, but I wouldn't count on it mattering in any material way, so just know that it's low stakes, but hey, we've seen Philadelphia completely fall apart at the end of the season before, last year, so why not? It's not impossible. So, yeah, we want the Ravens to win for sure. It's just understand that it's unlikely to mean anything. We got this Sunday night game. This one's pretty important as well in the sense that this could be it. Niners lose to the Bills. They're probably done for the season, and they might be done in terms of this window. This window might be finally officially closed. The door will be locked. And they're going to be looking at kind of turning the page here a little bit. They're going to have to, with the way Trent Williams is physically at this point, they're going to be probably looking at turning the page on him. Somebody like a Debo is probably out. They're probably going to keep guys like Kittle and McCaffrey, but they're on borrowed time. You've got, the Dre Greenlaw situation. Shavarius Ward's probably gone this offseason. This could be the game that officially ends it. It felt like it ended 2 weeks ago, felt like it ended last week, but this could be the game that actually ends it. And then we got Monday night, Browns going to the Broncos. Only thing going on here is strength of schedule. Broncos, if they can keep winning, that win in week 1 looks better and better and better all the time. So, that's it for the rooting guide. Let me know what you guys think. Things are getting important here. We need some help if this road is going to get clear. Obviously, Seahawks need to keep winning, but if they can get some help, the road can get a lot clearer. And this is a week where we might come out of this week feeling great about things. See you guys later. Go Hawks.